An evil empire, a rebellion, a chosen one, a sand planet. Sound a bit familiar? Well, while you may not be heading to Tatooine this weekend, it's likely that you and everyone you know will be spending some time on Arrakis. But didn't that book come out 50 years ago? I'm Eric, welcome to Youtini, and today we're gonna go over the 7 things Star Wars stole from Dune. Pablo Picasso famously said that good artists borrow, but great artists steal. And as serious or non-serious as that may be, it is a sentiment that absolutely rings true for one of our favorite franchises of all time. Now here at Youtini, we love both of these franchises. And since there's no crazy legal battle to document, let's instead jump right into the fun part and dive into the top 7 things Star Wars stole from Dune. Number 1, the Sand Planet. The most obvious comparison of all is the 2 sand planets at the core of these stories, Tatooine and Arrakis. Not only do these 2 planets have extremely similar landscapes, but the sand itself becomes sort of a character in both franchises. I mean, in the pages of Dune, Herbert goes to great lengths to explain what the sand on Arrakis does to the inhabitants of the planet and how it affects the entire landscape. And in Star Wars,
I don't like sand.
Well, so does George. But jokes aside, the coarse nature of the sand on both Tatooine and Arrakis reflects the harsh story beats of both Dune and Star Wars. But whereas Anakin Skywalker gets to escape the arid surface of Tatooine to go get married on Naboo, Paul Atreides is forced to abandon his beautiful homeworld of Caladan to go play with the sandworms. I think Skywalker gets the win here. But that leads us to number 2, moisture control. On planets like Tatooine and Arrakis, water is king. And both Herbert and Lucas needed to figure out ways to keep their characters alive throughout the adventure. Now in Star Wars, the moisture evaporator is prominently featured as it provides the livelihood for the Skywalker-Lars household. In fact, this image is so iconic that you can literally see them in person at Galaxy's Edge, or even in our old logo that we used for quite a few years. Dune, however, takes the business of one's own water a little bit further. Yes, they do have dew collectors, which are the most one-to-one comparison to the evaporators, but the real moisture tech lies in the still suits. This technology actively recycles a person's sweat and keeps their bodies cool throughout the day to the point where they can be the difference between literal life and death on the planet's surface. I mean, hey, at least Luke got to have something a bit more breathable. But let's be honest, we're not really here for the fashion, right? We're here for the monsters. Specifically, number 3, the Sand Beasts. Yes, the Sand Beasts! Now, as much as I love my Star Wars monsters, there's no way we're not starting with possibly the most recognizable thing in all of Dune, the sandworm. Shai-Hulud. This monstrosity has been used all over the place, from book covers to possibly even more famously, popcorn buckets. The sandworm's design is essentially perfect. In fact, it's so iconic that you can basically see it in Return of the Jedi right in the Sarlacc pit. Now, the special editions that came out in later years did stray away a bit from Shai-Hulud's trademark design, but there's no question that the OG Eater of Boba Fett has at least some second cousins over on Arrakis. Now real quick, let's take a second to pay some bills and thank the sponsor of today's video, patreon.com/Youtini. My gosh, we are so thankful for our community, the United, over on Patreon. As we said before, 2024 is going to be the biggest year ever for Youtini's Patreon and Discord communities, and we thank you all so much for believing in us as we pave forward this brave new direction. Get all the exclusive content we've ever made, including a bonus video every week, a 45-minute documentary that we made when all of us met for the first time, and plenty more. Make sure to go to patreon.com/Youtini today, join the United, join our community, and find a bunch of like-minded fans just like you. All right, let's go back to Dune. But that's enough sand for now, because the comparisons between Star Wars and Dune go far beyond the arid climate of their trademark planets. In fact, they go right up the ladder to the universal power structure with, number 4, a Galactic Empire. The Emperor in Star Wars is so legendary that for many years he was known only by that singular title to fans of the franchise. And frankly, maybe he should have kept it, because Sheev Palpatine doesn't quite inspire the same level of terror if you ask me. But despite his historic title, Dune also did this first by establishing their empire, also known as the Imperium, also known as the Carino Empire, under their own somewhat silly titled emperor, Shaddam Carino IV. You know what, maybe the silly names are a thing now and I'm the one that's wrong. Now, George Lucas had many real-world inspirations for his empire, including a heavy influence from the Vietnam War, but the similarities of these 2 seats of government don't end at their titular emperor. They also both have their own specially titled militaries, with the Stormtroopers and the much cooler named and frankly much deadlier Sardaukar. Okay, I really didn't mean to go on a whole naming thing in this video, but I guess it's unavoidable at this point, right? But hey, what's the point of a galactic empire or imperium if you don't have someone that's prophesied to take it down, right? And that's where we get into one of the more classic similarities between the two. Number 5, the Chosen One.
She's only interested in you because she thinks you're the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one. Okay, sorry.
The Chosen One trope is one of my personal favorites. There's just something about the call to action coming through a prophecy over years and years that makes it all the more exciting for me. I mean, in both Dune and Star Wars, we see this to a pretty extreme extent, but we gotta start with Dune because there are quite a few moving parts. The Chosen One in Dune is named Paul Atreides, or as you may know him, Timothy Chardonnay, and he is prophesied to do a lot. Without giving too many spoilers, Paul's prophecies come from various groups of people, including the Bene Gesserit, a sisterhood who achieves superhuman abilities through years of conditioning and training, and the Fremen, the indigenous people of Arrakis. The Bene Gesserit believe that Paul will become the Kwisatz Haderach, who has been bred over centuries to access memories of his ancestors and assert control over the universe, while the Fremen believe him to be the Lisan al-Gaib, who will lead them back to freedom. And in Star Wars, Anakin is called the Chosen One. That's it. Now, we can surely attribute much of the Chosen One trope in Star Wars to Lucas's admitted love of Joseph Campbell, but the side-by-side comparison of that child of prophecy frolicking in the sand is just too good to pass up. But nevertheless, each of these men are pressured beyond belief before their birth and react with complications to that burden of leadership. Luckily, they have a little bit of assistance thanks to our next comparison. Number 6, magic-ish. Star Wars and Dune are both very interesting in the fact that they technically contain magic systems that aren't really magic systems. Rather, our main characters are simply able to access the raw power of the universe in very specific ways that happen to grant them superhuman abilities after years and years of training. Thus, magic-ish. Obviously, we're talking about the Force in Star Wars and the Voice, among other powers, in Dune. The Force is one of the most incredible concepts introduced in Star Wars. It's the connection that binds all living things, and with the proper amount of training and genetic predisposition, well, for now at least, Force users can harness it to perform superheroic feats. Oh, and it also helps you wield a sick lightsaber. The Voice in Dune, on the other hand, is also an ability that can be harnessed through years of advanced martial training thanks to a bit of genetic help from the Bene Gesserit we mentioned earlier. In this way, this magic system is almost seen more recently in Star Wars with Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka show, who, despite lacking the genetic predisposition to classic Force sensitivity, was able to harness these abilities through constant training. In this way, both universes encourage the development of abilities through vigorous application of training and discipline. But Dune has one final advantage that makes this easier. It's our final bit of lore that Lucas ripped right from the pages. Lucky number 7, spice. Listen, Star Wars changed my life. Changed a lot of our lives. It's new mythology that will last long after I'm gone, and I can never praise the creator enough. But George, you didn't even try on this one, buddy. Spice is the one thing that is verbatim the same in both galaxies. Now, before you come for me in the comments, yes, spice is also called melange in Dune, but colloquially, they share the exact same name on Arrakis and in the mines of Kessel. But names aside, spice is much more featured in the mythos of Dune. In Star Wars, spice is understood as an illicit drug that is mined and can honestly give a variety of properties to its users based on the needs of the storyteller at the time, but it is usually understood as a type of mind-altering drug, which is about to feel really, really familiar, because the spice on Arrakis is psychedelic as they come. The spice in Dune's universe is found within the sands of the planet and is known as a highly addictive psychoactive drug. However, as opposed to the rather small role it plays in the Star Wars galaxy, spice is used for many things in the Duneverse, with it playing a part in commerce, technological development, travel, and hallucinogenic visions that help push forward the path of prophecy. And we wonder why George didn't even change the name. But there we have it. Do Dune and Star Wars share a lot of similarities? Absolutely. But does that mean that Star Wars is simply a shameless copy cashing in on all the projects that came before? Absolutely not. Both Dune and Star Wars used influences that came before them and undoubtedly inspired countless stories that came after. And that's the beauty of stories like this. New worlds keep getting made and we get to keep exploring them. Which of these stolen items is your personal favorite? Let us know in the comments, or if there are some that I missed, please shout them out. I'm gonna go ahead and go see Dune Part 2 for the 4th time now, but as always, long live the fighters, and may the Force be with you.